Hello, welcome to Mart's garage on a somewhat wintry day here in England. I'm working on the Flathead block and I've been doing a few jobs, and I'll show you what I've been doing, some of which you may have already seen on the video. In the middle of this side you can see a liner in that bore and a liner in that bore as well. And what I also have, this is a French piston, and I ran this in my Roadster, and I only took these out when I brought it out to plus 0.125, an eighth over. This is a 45 thou piston, and what you can see there is that it says Avant with an arrow pointing that way, so that's the front, and then here it says plus 1.14. well, 1.14 is 45 thou in millimeters. This is a 3-ring piston, and these rings are virtually new, so I'm going to try and run these if I can. These are, in the French engines, these are common between the 3 3/4 inch engines and the 4-inch stroke engines. So this cutaway here is, it clears the 4-inch crank. And what they do on the French engines, they alter the length of the rod. The rod is 6 7/8 instead of 7 inches to compensate. So they can use the same piston. So what I've done here is I've bored this cylinder to suit that piston, 45 thou over, and it's cleaned up nicely, I would say, as a non-expert. And I did that yesterday, so I just put a bit of WD-40 in it to protect it a little bit, and I gave it a quick hone with one of those one of those hones, and it came out really nice, and the piston fits in it okay. The piston fits in it quite nicely with about 2 thou clearance. I bought this one as well, but it didn't clean up quite so nicely. These were at 30 thou, and this one has some vague sort of, I'm trying to light it without blowing the camera out. This one has some little marks in the bore, but I have 2 cylinders that I haven't tried to bore yet on the other side. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is look at the cylinders on the other side and see if they clean up like this one did. If they do, I might just say, well, let's just see what happens if I run that cylinder like that. If they're as bad as that, in other words, if I've got 3 like that, I'll have to abandon trying to use these pistons and go to 60 thou. I'm trying to keep the cost down on this, and with that original premise of let's just see what we need to do to make it run, even if it isn't perfect, because I've got to look at all the crank and bearings and rods yet. So on the strength of that, I'm going to now flip the block over and look at the other bores. Okay, I'll bring you back when I've got something more to show. Hello again. I've set the boring machine up. I've centered it up on this bore. So what I'm going to do is go in about 2 thou down from what I want, and then just do a very light pass afterwards. The finished bore is 3.2325, would you believe? Hang on. 3.1875 plus 0.045 is 3.2325. So I'm aiming at around about, and then let's just get a measurement off one of the pistons. 0, 0. Right, so that piston is measuring in at around about 3.229 and a half. So if I go to that bore, it'll be about 3,000. So I want to go slightly tight. So I'm going to aim for about 31, 31 and a half, 32 tops. This machine tends to cut about 1 thou over the size on the micrometer. Right, so there's 3.2, 10, 20, 32 would be size, wouldn't it? So 31. I'm going to go for 29. No, I'm not. I've stopped using the file in there. What I do, I put it in, swing it round, and I just put this in the end there to push on the tool. And I'll push on with my thumb, and I use 2 fingers to hold the micrometer up against the base of the thing, so the micrometer is held square. I've got gentle pressure on the tool. Then I can wind the tool in and out with the micrometer then, gently obviously. And now it's there. I've set that to 29. So let's nip this up. Okay, so that's now tight. And then I hold the micrometer again with 2 fingers. 2.9, so that is 2.9. So that's that. So let's take that off. That's tight. So I'll bring it down to just above. Turn it so I can just make a judgment how high it is. I'll lock this so it can't fall down accidentally. Tighten that. I haven't mended the guard, so I'm going to have to just be careful and set it running. Get the vacuum ready. In the main bearing bore like that. The cut seems to be favouring this side a bit, which could be bad news really. I did do my best to centre it properly though. Can you see that it hasn't picked up that bit at the back there? And what I'll do, I'll put a new tip in the tool for the cut to size. I can see some pits in this bore. I remember looking at this one before and seeing pits in the bore and wondering myself if it would clean up. Not sure if you can see me in the background, but I'm just, what I've found is that when you're doing these boring jobs, you might as well have a little side job to keep dropping onto while while it's running through. So I've got one of the pistons here that I'm just cleaning up. think that's gone through actually. It's right down there now, and it's this screw is towards me, so I can undo that and take the tool out. And it saves dragging the tip up the bore. Okay, yeah, okay, I don't like the look of this one. Although, well, let's have a look, see what you think. Okay, the bore don't look great, does it? There's a area there. Now, I could see that before. It's only mildly pitted. There's a couple of pits down there. But there's an area there that didn't clean up, which might be because I've picked up off the bottom of the bore or something like that. I don't know. Because the machine's there, you can't measure from above. .295. I'm trying to think about what the bores are like in some of my existing engines. Certainly the engine that's in my truck, that runs absolutely fine, and that's got little markings in the bore from rust and whatever in the past, and tiny little pits and things, and it runs perfectly well. You know, and you get these engines where they've been seized and people get them freed up and moving and then run them and drive them, don't even tear them down, so you don't know what they're like inside. They're bound to have similar, aren't they? Can you see I'm kind of talking myself into just going with it? You know what the Model T guys say, don't you? They're not pits, they're lubrication pockets. I can't try the piston in the top, but I can try the piston in the bottom. Right, let's just try this piston. Yeah, that goes in, nice. Nice, not too tight, not too sloppy. That goes in nice and clean underneath. So that'll go in at the top as well. It goes in. Right, what's the dimension of it? Zero. 3.232, just the faintest touch. So that bore is okay, and I can just do a quick whiz up and down with the honer, and it'll take it that extra little bit, won't it? Like I say, I'm not rebuilding this engine, I'm just repairing it into a running engine. Well, trying to repair it into a running engine. You see, I'm just making excuses for doing a crap job. Who did these up? Don't know whether to show you this. Don't know whether to show you this because it ain't great. No, it hasn't cleaned up over there, has it? So that's not good. There. I'll see what it looks like when I've run the honer up and down it a bit, and I'll try and measure the bore at the top. There's a little shadow here. Let's try and get some light. There's like a shadow on that back side there, where a little bit of water's sat in it at some point. Down that side looks okay. Yeah, they're lubrication pockets, aren't they? Forget you didn't see that if you don't like it. let's just move this out of the way a bit. Sketchiness at Mart's. You can kind of see like a water shadow on that side, and that area over that side doesn't look, on the side doesn't look bad. That area down there halfway down looks a little bit shadowy, but the pitting that was a little bit further down that side isn't hardly anything to speak about really. This is the clincher when you light it from below. That's too much. There's a little bit of pitting there. I will reserve my judgment and see what the next one comes out like. Yeah, there is a bit of pitting there, isn't there? Yeah, that looks quite badly pitted actually. So what am I going to risk if I run that? International hatred? What am I going to risk if I run that? A used set of pistons. Big deal. They're not worth anything. They haven't cost me anything. Yeah, do you know something? I feel like just saying, the heck with it, I'll just do it. Wonder what the bore size measures now. Yeah, that's kind of 3.2325. That's actually bang on the nominal size, isn't it? I'm not bragging with that. That's just, you know, what it's come out to. I wonder what it is if I measure it across that top bit there. If I can try and measure that there. You know, that bit that didn't clean up. Well, that's saying 3.237, which isn't, yeah, it's a bit more than I thought, to be honest. 3.5 on a second measurement. Yeah, I'm getting 3.5 on a third measurement, so, do you know, I mean, people take the existing pistons, don't they, and hone the bores and just rerun the existing pistons, so they're going to have much more kind of, you know, error than that, aren't they? Right then, okay, I'm in the mood for a gamble. I'm gonna square this one up with the top of the bore. Right. The instead of the crusty flathead, we need to call this one the sketchy flathead, don't we? Sketchy practices at Mart's. Come on, there you come. And wind out the cat's whiskers. Shall I show you? Right, watch. Out. Yeah. Then they touch on the bore, and you keep going. You give it a shake about, and you keep going. And then it locks into the bore there, and that's locked into the bore. It's probably bad practice to do it there, because that's the worn part of the bore. But if I'd have done this one at the top of the bore, it would have cleaned up there, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like I say, I'm a novice. I've never done this before. I'm teaching myself. Yeah, that looks all right. You know, it like I say, it don't look great, but I don't think I'm gonna go to the expense of using the 60 thou pistons, even though I've already bought them. I can save them for one of the French engines. I might have second thoughts on that actually. This one has got some fairly deep pits. Trying to avoid that hazing. Yeah, I might have a break and have a think about it. Let's just measure that, just out of interest. I look upon it as, even if I end up not using this bore, it's all a practice, you see. Yeah, I'm getting 3.232 with the 5 popping up. There's the 5. So it is actually on the bore size. So those pistons ought to go down there. I like it. I don't know what to say really. I'm going to have a think about it. Okay, right. Okay, I've done a little bit. I'll knock it on the head at that. Okay, see you later then. Hello. You can see behind me the Flathead. I've just been having a think about how I want to proceed with this engine. As it stands at the moment, the block with regards to all of the cylinders is completely viable. In other words, I don't need to worry at all about the cylinders and the bores. Those two there have had liners in. That one down there and that one there is possibly runnable at 45. It'll certainly be runnable at 60. And likewise on the top. The N2 under the machine have been linered, so they will bore out. These two here have been bored and they will run at 45 or 60. Instead of continuing to bore to 45 rather, what I thought I would do is take a little break in the machining and kind of just put a little bit of oil on things to preserve it. And what I thought I would do is put the engine back in the stand and get the crank out from where I've put it in storage and lay the crank in and look at the crank and the bearings and see if all the bearings are good, because to be honest, my original premise was to see if it would run. I've dealt with the piston and bore aspect of it, and I've repaired the damage to the bores, so from that respect it would run. So now I need to evaluate all the other parts that it needs to be in okay condition for it to run. That is crank, rods, cam, lifters, and then some valves. I need to evaluate all of those parts to see if they can be made to run. I mean, I am actually literally only doing this for a bit of fun, to be honest. But what I've realised is that it's just as much work to throw together something from virtually scrap parts as to put something together using all the best parts. The only difference is the amount of money that you spend. I have been trying to work out what I can do with this engine once it's built, and I could put it in my 33, or I could put it in my 32, which I've yet to build, or I could put it in my truck. It's actually probably correct for my truck. What I'm kind of trying to get at is that I think that if all the other parts aren't good enough, what I might be forced to do is actually not continue to get it up and running, because it would be a waste of time and effort. But I would know that I do have a good block that at some point, when the time is right, that it can be built up as a proper running rebuilt motor with new parts in it. For the time being, what I'm thinking that I want to do is draw a line under the machining of the cylinders. I was kind of just ploughing ahead, but I think I can leave that now because I know how to use the machine. But at the moment I don't know whether it's throw a set of used 45 thou pistons in on some less than perfect bores, and then use some, a less than perfect crank with less than perfect bearings and less than perfect rods and less than perfect big end bearings and a less than perfect cam and a less than perfect set of lifters, and some less than perfect valves sort of gathered from all sorts of engines that have been torn down over the years. Whether it's to do all that or just put the block into storage until I want to do a proper build, maybe for the 32, or if those parts are definitely no good, it's not worth trying to build it into a running engine. Because to build it into a running engine, I need an oil pan, I need a flywheel, I need a starter, I need a decent pair of heads, an inlet, a carb, a distributor. I need a lot of things that I don't have never-ending stock of. And I have 2 French engines that I want to convert to, normal car use, all of which also need all of those things. So I've got to try and weigh up the balance between, is this just an interesting little subject for some YouTube videos, even though it ends up not being particularly useful for anything, or is it worthy of a major lot of time and effort just to get it running, even though I don't actually know what I'm going to do with it. I bought it for a bit of fun. I've had a bit of fun. At what point does it stop being fun? Okay, I will start to investigate the other parts that were sort of stripped down and just put away. I will get those out and have a good look at them. Are they usable? Are they viable? So let's see what happens when I start to investigate the crank and the rods and those things. Okay, let's draw a line under the boring for now then. I've enjoyed all the stud removal videos and all the other things that led to this point, and I will work out how I'm going to proceed, and I will start a new sort of series of videos when I know which way I'm going to take, even if it's just to say I'm not going to go any further and I'm going to now put this one on hold. Okay, thanks very much for watching then. I hope you've enjoyed it up to this point, and I hope you don't feel disappointed, but there has to be a reason for doing something, and I don't think just because it makes entertaining YouTube videos is good enough. Some people do that, but some people make a lot of money from YouTube. I don't make a penny from it. But you know, hey, I'm not upset about that. That's the way it is. I'd rather not be feeling like I need to keep pumping out content, you know, because I feel like I owe people something because they've paid money. Nobody's paid me anything, so I don't feel bad if I don't do anything. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot then. Bye. Wonder if this will turn it. How about that then?